Welcome to the BearDegidio Full Experience Podcast, Ed.
Love that. Good to be here.
Oh, man, it's great to have you on. There's been so much chatter about trying to get you on this. The internet's been exploding at the seams, calling me to get you on.
I thought the internet had dissipated into thin air, but I'm glad it's still around.
Oliver, let's start with the first and foremost. Where are you, and why are you there?
I live in a small little rice paddy in the middle of Ubud, Indonesia, which is Bali, Indonesia. Yeah, I'll give you a little glance. Yeah, this is just my little humble abode here.
You actually live outdoors?
Yeah, I live outdoors.
Like they give you a sleeping bag, or what do you do for warmth?
Oh, bro, it's perfect. Everybody thinks California is the best place to live. This is the best place to live. I figured it out.
I mean, you've traveled around the world, so I'm gonna take it from you on that. So, I see you're drinking. What are you drinking over there? Champagne cocktail?
Yeah, this is champagne of teas called Puer, yeah. Gets you a little tea drunk.
Wow. So, Oliver, before we start diving into all kinds of things, you're about to blow people's minds away. We want to know, your weigh-in on this whole Kyle Spica, Alex Goldman, Brandon Short, Snake God feud. Before we even dive into anything, we got to start with the heaviest hitting questions first. What's your take on those three guys?
So what, is there a little bit of rivalry?
Well, Alex Goldman says he's in his own class, so he shouldn't be considered even in an argument with those two. Spica thinks because he's the new dragonfly on the scene that he gets to say whatever he wants. And Short's doing a farewell tour like he's Kobe Bryant.
Right. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Alex Goldman's in a league of his own, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That kid's been... Well, dude, come on. That kid's been a threat to everybody of every different lineage within the paintball industry for the last few years. I mean, he's fucking deadly. That's the truth,
And what's your dynamic with Kyle and Short? You still talk to them? You still friends?
Yeah, these kids are, these people are very important people in my life, I hold them very dear to me. I'm happy Kyle went to the Ironman, It's just we need to change things up. You got to keep things fresh, And the truth of the matter is until Dynasty makes more room for younger people to be on the team, they're going to just continuously lose people, and that's just how the inevitable fact of having veterans on the team is, So
eat or be eaten. I love it. Now, Oliver, we're gonna kind of backtrack a little bit. So for everybody that's watching this, getting you on the podcast has been crazy, but obviously everyone always talks about you in every single podcast. And without a doubt, you are arguably the best paintball player ever to live. You're the Michael Jordan of the sport. You put the sport on your back for 20 years. You gave it everything you have. Now you're in the forest finding whatever it is that makes you happy. The dynamic you had when you first left Dynasty to go back to IRONMEN, to win everything and then came back, what was that like going through your mind, especially with the younger kids now jumping ship so much? When you first did that, you sent an earthquake to the league. No one ever thought that was possible.
Well, see, the thing is my whole time, and still to this day, I'm testing myself. Everything I do is test. I'm running trials on myself daily. I'm observing myself. I'm witnessing how I act, what I do. I'm taking my life into my own hands. I've been doing this for some time because I'm here to refine myself, refine the way I act, refine the way I conduct myself, refine the way I bring myself to sportsmanship, to friendships, to relationships, to business deals. So when I was told at a young age, oh, you're the best, for many years I said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because I always knew that I could be better. And in fact, even if I was the best at that point, I was still knew that I had lots of room to grow. So this opportunity to me to go to the Ironman was just another test. And it was for me to say, okay, hey, this is your dream. This is what you've been pursuing. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. You take it. You don't sit back and let it pass. You take it. You see what happens. And honestly, it was probably one of the best decisions of my life. You were there in the beginning of those trainings.
Yeah.
What was being birthed from it. And in all reality, there's been good teams for a long time. The Russians have been an outstanding team for a long time, but the Russians all travel together. It's, you know, a pack of 3 or 4 guys that are moving around, whether they go to Heat or whether they go to Image or Impact, whatever team they go to, they're all going to be good because they all move in a little cluster. So this was my opportunity to go be by myself and see if I could, you know, take on a whole team by myself and create and build a new, you know, call it a dynasty.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I remember even as a little kid, I remember as a little kid when you came on Ironman back when they made the big ordeal and you were the new $1 million player. You came back, you rebuilt the team, you know, from the ground up. You had Todd Adamson and Billy Saransky sitting on the sidelines at the first practice. I was shook. I was concussed. I didn't know what you were doing. And you put together a team of killers. You handpicked players, you handpicked, you know, the whole vibe of the team, and you created this synergy. You're electrifying no matter what team you go on, without a doubt. And the spirit, the mana you bring to the team, without a doubt, is something that makes you so special. But how was it going back to Dynasty after winning the World Cups with Ironman, bringing up Short, bringing up Alex Goldman, Marcelo? You raised the whole current generation of paintball players single-handedly. Then you went back to Dynasty. How was that switch?
Well, you know, it was like the Ironman deal the job was done, you know, the contract was up. And
is that how you looked at it? It was just a job, just that in and out?
No, it wasn't a job. And when I say the job is done, I'm meaning it's more of a, like, you know, my duty as a role within that whole program. It was like, okay, hey, come join Ironman. Yeah, make a little bit of money, build a team, see if you can win, test yourself. So that the test was over. I tested myself. We had won 2 back-to-back World Cups. We had built a fantastic team, and so the run was there. I tested myself, and I had accomplished what I aimed to you know, put to the test.
Yeah.
So I say the job was done. Yeah, the job was done, but at the same time, my test was over, and I knew I could return back to my team to be with my, you know, these people who I cherish being around.
Now, when you went back to Dynasty, I think a lot of people don't know the back history of Dynasty and kind of like how you guys started. You were, you know, the young Iron kids, the young kids on the scene, all basically handpicked from Chuck Hench. You guys, you know, you've seen multiple levels of paintball. You played in multiple different genres of paintball.
Now, well, actually, it was a little bit different there. What happened was we were all just playing amateur, and we had started to mix up with some of the Southern California crew of people, like the Kevin Breathauer, Brian Cole, you know, Sonny Lopez, a lot of these, Opie Lochran, you know, these guys, you know, we were playing, you remember us, we saw you, we were playing at SC Village. We'd come down from Northern California just to practice at SC Village because it was just the creme de la creme of the place to be.
Yeah.
And whoever there was there. So I'm an open book. I like people. I like meeting people. I like seeing, you know, why we're in each other's lives. So when I see Kevin Breathauer, I'm like, this kid's interesting. He's around my age. You know, why don't we play together? So I had built a community of friendships throughout different teams that were playing at that time, it was the NPPL 10-mans, and we all played on different teams. And I said, well, why don't we just all play the Great Westerns together, because we're all friends and we're all young and there's no young kids at this time. So let's just join and make an awesome team. And that's the Iron Kids essentially.
Wow. Now, when you started this Dynasty, you know, I would say it's not even over yet, but this Dynasty movie that you created that all of paintball's been watching and basically living in, because you guys have created something that people have spent millions and devoted their whole lives to try to take down. And the Dynasty still hasn't fallen, and that's still...
I like how you noticed that. I like how you're aware of that, because a lot of people aren't aware of that. In fact, like, being on Dynasty has taught me a lot, because I don't root for the underdog. I root for the team that is the best team, that works the hardest, that has the you know, the biggest and best friendship, and that deserves the win. Not just a team that's a flash in the pan. And I think that's the difference between Dynasty fans and fans of other teams that are just built to try to potentially beat Dynasty, you know?
Yeah.
And God bless them, I guess. I think that's somewhat healthy.
Well, everyone's trying to beat you guys. You guys have been the best since they started. You've been the best since they were shooting Titmans. You taught them how to play. Then they jumped on another team, and they're still trying to beat you. So it's like you guys are the Yodas, dude, and you're still teaching while you guys are dead, just in spirit, hovering over the 7-man field, dude. We love it, though. But, Oliver, you're you know, without being cocky or sounding like I'm sucking up, because I grew up with you. You know, I got to see the best of you all over the world. I got to play with you. You are like the Tom Brady, the Mike Tyson, the Muhammad Ali of our sport. You're the living legend. What separated you from everyone else? Because everyone else put in just as much work as you, but what you did was so special, so unique.
Well, this is a very beautiful question, and the only way I can really express it is the fact is that I did it because I did it from the heart, and that's something that I think is super profound. If you can tap into that realization and that understanding, if you do anything with integrity and you do anything with intense willpower, you can really, in fact, you can accomplish anything. And I remember distinctively as a young kid, people laughing at me when they said, you want to be the what? You want to be the best paintball player in the world? And they would literally laugh in my face. And they said, well, what college are you going to? And I didn't apply for college. I was just in Paris last weekend playing paintball. But,
Shout out to the first class seats.
This is an opportunity for me to follow my dream. And if you really want to follow your dream, whatever that dream may be, because my dream is different than your dream and anybody else's dream that's watching this. So then this is your chance and your ability to move forward. And I think simply I moved into a direction that was fully aligned with what my purpose was to do at that time. And that was to become the best that I could be within this warrior aspect sport of paintball.
Now, Oliver, the warrior aspect, we talked so much about this over the years. People love using the cliche term, you got to have heart. People love using the cliche hype. But the things you were able to do on the field and the rallies, the chants, the speeches, the huddles you were able to give, they're legendary. They're folk tales in paintball. Everybody knows you as one of the most inspiring players on the field. What do you think makes you so different in that aspect, that you didn't just go on the field and cuss at your guys? You actually rallied something inside of them that pushed them, like Kyle Spica, to win a world championship, his first one, and Marcelo to become the greatest, and Alex to become so great. Short, like you single-handedly, and along with Ryan and Alex Frazier and all these guys, we give them credit too, but we know that the spearhead of that was from you. What do you think did it for you? How were you able to find it?
Well, see, and this is going to come off a little arrogant, but the truth is I know how good I can be. I know what I got to do. I know how to show up. I know how to practice. I know the formulas in place. I know the preparations. I know the diets, the exercises, the routines, the mindset, the restoration, everything I know what I need to do to win. So I'm like, that's easy. I can do it. So why don't I help other people? Because this is actually a lifetime where, believe it or not, this isn't just my life. I'm surrounded and I'm revolving around you. I'm revolving around all the paintball community. I'm revolving around all my neighborhood, my countrymen, my actually everybody as in the human race. So why not help each other out? And that's where the biggest and most beneficial thing is that you could possibly be doing in your life. So again, running tests on myself, this is an opportunity within my career as a paintball athlete or a professional to assist other people.
Got it.
And that's what I'm all about.
Love it.
I don't give a shit anymore about what I can do, because I know I can do it. I don't got to prove to anybody. And I learned this a long time ago. But how much better can I make you? That's what I'm about.
I mean, you've always been one to tell me that, tell other people that. I feel like me and you have always had a dope connection, sometimes up, sometimes down, but you've always kept it real with me. And you've always tried to nick and pick at certain things, especially with me running around the world, with my mouth loud.
For you. I've been rooting for you for a long time, and I see a lot of potential within you. It's just as I see a lot of potential within young generation, people within your age bracket.
Yep.
And I see it. I see myself there, and I wish only that I had somebody within my lifetime that was as inspiring as I can be for other people. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to inspire people.
So, Oliver, in terms of inspiring and how you set your mind going into an event, what did you do at practice that you think made your practice so different from others? Because I think people forget about that concept of strategizing your practice, having formulated practice. Because I'll give you an example. I remember when I first practiced with you, you came up to me and you said, yo, I know you want to play with Dynasty this season, but one thing you need to stop doing is being so loud before practice starts, because you're wasting all your energy. And you were so fine-tuned about it, so real, not being judgmental, not being mean. You just wanted really me to be a better player that day. And you said, listen, you're wasting all your energy. You looked at the game differently. What did you do at practice differently?
Well, at practice, I was honest. I was honest with myself, and I was honest with my teammates. I never had to lie about anything, and I could experiment. It was my laboratory to conduct drills all day long with myself and with other people. I would even confront other people and start arguments and create tensions to see how people would react under pressure. You know, people sometimes think I'm a jerk, but honestly, I'm just testing you, and I'm trying to make you the best that you can be all day long. And I'm pushing buttons, and I'm losing. And the more that you can lose within practice is essentially, you know, the more input you can get within your day, and then you can go back home that evening, you can study it, and you can go over it within the construct of the mind and apply the differences throughout the next day to create a better result.
Now, with the Dynasty guys, you talk about conflicts and resolutions, teamwork, energy, you know, friendship. What was it like living with them at the beginning stages of Dynasty? I remember I was like 13 years old. I showed up to your Dynasty house near San Diego State. It was like the day after Halloween. It was chaos. You know, that house seemed like a tornado had hit it, flipped it upside down, and turned it right side out. What was it like living with your teammates, your brothers at the time, your friends, and traveling around the world? What was that like?
This is the high, some of the highs of the high right there, you know, and to wake up every day with your best friend smiling at you and being able to walk down the street for a cup of coffee or a donut or something like that. This is, you know, the perfect thing as a youth could be doing. And I definitely think that everybody
who lived in the house at the time? Who lived in the house at the time?
We had 10 people. It was Yosh, Alex, Ryan, BC, Johnny, myself, Sonny Garcia, Opie Lochran, and then 2 or 3 like miscellaneous people, you know, throughout friendships, you know. Marcus, of course.
Marcus Nielsen, can't forget about him. What was that dynamic like in the house? Parties every night, paintball focus, watching videos?
Lots of parties, lots of debauchery, a lot of, you know, dumb young antics that groomed us into who we are today, you know.
It just never ends. You see him on the weekend, you see him on a plane, see him at a tournament, see him at home. You guys never got tired of each other?
No, we definitely got tired of each other, and you know that was also an important thing to be tired of each other and separate. You know, I made other friends with it in the San Diego community, and you know, you just go see them, and then you come back and you kind of build your family up a little bit. You know, it's like, you know, you don't want to suffocate each other, right?
No, I love it. But do you think that the house made you guys tighter and made you guys such the dynasty you guys became because you guys were always together? You really knew each other?
Absolutely. But we were already that before, you know? It was just solidified it a little bit.
Now, Oliver, there's been so many players over the years, like I said, they've devoted their lives. Seriously, I've seen it. I've read about it. The forums have been chattering since the day you started playing about trying to take you down, trying to take down Dynasty, and these guys wanting to be you, essentially. Running down the field, trying to make the moves you make, not understanding that everything you did was methodically thought out, that your moves were always calculated. You're not just out there winging it, lucky. You know what I'm saying? What do you think it was on the field during tournaments that made you so much better? It seemed like you were always playing chess. Everyone was playing checkers, even in events. I know it sounds arrogant, and I know it sounds like I'm, sucking up to you, but it's the facts. Like the guys that are watching this right now, if they can't handle it, they got to turn this off because that's why they lose, because they can't handle the facts of real life. Like, what do you think it was on the field that made you that much better than anyone else during tournaments?
Absolute faith, brother.
That was it. Like, when you're running down the field, before you go make those breakthrough moves we've seen you do so many times, are you thinking in your head like the Matrix, like, dude, I'm going to go shoot this guy, shoot that guy, hang the flag? Are you pre-calculating the moves? What's going through your head?
I'm pre-calculating the moves. The moves are somewhat disciplined, and I can envision them and foresee them. But at the same time, there's a risk versus the reward. But when you have super, extremely tight and precise teammates around you, when you got a Ryan Greenspan, when you got an Alex Frazier, you got a Yosh Rao, you can risk it. It's worth the risk. You know, that's the beauty of this little group that we had. I could go and do something, call it stupid or call it calculated, however you want to call it. And if it worked, it worked. And if it didn't work, they picked up the slack, you know, or they played off it. And so it's essentially a win-win.
Wow. Do you think the game evolved over the years as a whole, or do you think you just got better and you were so far ahead of the rest of the guys that it made you and the team that much better?
Yeah, we just got head and shoulders above the majority of people for a long time. And I still think to a certain degree that Dynasty is a little bit head and shoulders above a lot of teams, just simply because of the team aspect. But a lot of teams are now building it. You know, Impact's obviously built a team and they're showing incredible results, and it takes time. I mean, Impact was our whipping boys for like 10 years, and then all of a sudden the last like 3 or 4 years, they've been doing outstanding. So they've got 10 years of backlog beatdowns, and then now they can win.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been smashed in the league for years, and now everyone starting to catch up because you guys are all getting a little bit older. Teams not maybe practicing as harder. We get that.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Now, listen, you get lost in the forest all year. No one knows where you're at. You're climbing the trees, eating frogs, doing what you do. I don't judge. I let you live. You got amazing fashion going on. Hair looks great. You come back to World Cup. The anticipation's at an all-time high, and you guys win. What happened with all that? Explain how that all went down.
Well, you want to know what really happens in those situations, and this is always why I've been successful when I join other teams besides Dynasty, because a lot of teams and a lot of people and individuals, they have faith in me, they have faith in what I'm bringing to the table, and they believe in themselves, and then we can win. And after you've been on a team for a long time with someone, even if my words sound so incredibly, divine to some, it just goes in one ear and out the other if you've been hearing it all year long, and that's just the result of what happens when you play on a team for so long. People just stop to listen. They stop to care. There's no more fire. It's like having this beautiful girlfriend and then dating her for 5 years and then being tired of her, So you just got to keep things fresh. So that event, Dynasty needed a little bit of freshness, and I came back. There was a reinvigoration. There was a trust. There was faith. They believed in me. They believed in themselves, and that's a winning. That's a cocktail for success right there.
No, we love it. And I talked to Ryan. I talked to Alex. Obviously, I grew up watching these guys play and playing with you guys too. We always talk about this Dynasty Magic, that no matter what players come into your camp, somehow when they leave, they got a little bit of that fairy dust, and they're better than they've ever been. What do you think it is about that magic that they leave? Is it what they're learning? Is it the team history? What do you think it is that this Dynasty aura that players leave with that end up being so good? Like we talk about Archie and Chad George and all these guys that end up going to other teams and being major players on their squad.
Right. Sorry, I just got to charge my phone.
Love it.
Okay, so we're just going to just charge it here inside for a minute.
Absolutely.
Well, there's also a disease that comes with that. Sometimes they get onto Dynasty and then they feel like, okay, I've done it and success is here and we're just going to win because we're on Dynasty.
Who's a few examples of those?
Well, I mean, Archie's a good example. I was not on the team with Archie, but there was some moments where a lot of high quality players were coming through Dynasty when I wasn't involved, and then they were like, okay, we made it. Now we'll just sit back and have, these guys shoot everybody, and then I'll look really good, and I'll grab the flag and, take the trophy.
Don't work.
The truth is, you still got to work.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're a new guy on the team on Dynasty, it's intimidating. It's threatening to be. It's threatening to be around.
You think it's easy to play with you? You think it's easy playing with you, bro? I mean, come on, bro. You're like one of the greatest ever. You think it's like, oh, I'm gonna come on, it's gonna be great? No, it takes time.
It takes time, but I will say that there's certain players that will bring you in and reel you in and allow you to be very comfortable very quickly and very easily, and that makes for a good teammate. If you feel any pressure as a new player joining a new team, you're going to, you're just not going to produce.
Yep.
And like Archie's a good example. He was an outstanding player, came to Dynasty, didn't have such a good outcome, went back to X Factor, and then became an even better player.
Yeah.
So these things work out for the better.
Absolutely. Now, the overseas experience you had over the years with Dynasty, on and off the field, we don't talk so much in paintball about the experience of the travel aspect. Like when you travel and see the world with your friends, whether or not it's through paintball is that stratosphere that moves us to be able to see the world. What was it like traveling the world at such a young age with your best friends? What was that experience like? You've been doing it before I was Mr. Worldwide. You were doing it, Before Ryan Greenspan had miles, you were already a millionaire miler. I remember watching it. I heard about you in Delta Lounge. I used to read about you. What was that all about?
That was the reward to the whole thing. I never made any money really. Like I made a little bit of money with the dye deal, but as playing on Dynasty, the reality is that unless you're Ryan Greenspan and I don't know how he makes money, but nobody else makes money.
He sells jerseys, penny on the dollar. We've heard about it. Alibaba.
We don't know how he does it. Somehow he does it. But the truth is you know, the richness is within the friendships. The richness is within the travel. The richness is within the experience. And, you know, I hope that one day the paintball community will be, you know, funded and be paid well. But the reality of it is, you know, you got to just ride it and enjoy it and take what you can get while you can. And I mean, honestly, I lived a life of I lived such a fast, fun, furious, exciting life for the first 20, 30 years of my life. I mean, it's like I lived 100 lives already.
Was the experiences always wild, like traveling with your friends so young? Like, who's renting the car? You guys are all 14. Like, what's it like?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is again, having that faith and just figuring out how it's happening. It happens. Somehow somebody rented the car. I don't know where the money came from. I don't know.
What was your first event in Europe?
The first event in Europe was with the IRONMEN Toulouse 2001 maybe. Yeah, I think we took second place.
Wow.
Or maybe we took first place. No, we took second place. I think Avalanche won. But yeah, I mean, the Ironman was just another degree of the youngsters, you know. And this was when Matty Marshall, Michael McLaughlin, all these guys were young guys too, you know, 25, something like that, you know.
So you go over there, you take second, you come back home, you say, that's it, I'm starting Dynasty?
No, what happened was I played on Ironman for a year because it was a dream, you know. The Ironman, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
You want to play on Ironman's legendary.
Yeah.
So that was my first test. So I went to Ironman. We won the World Cup. We did all that. And then I'm looking at my friends, you know, joining and starting their own team Dynasty. And I'm like, well, that's what I want to be a part of. You know,
Love
that's
Love
like, you know, that's the perfect job right there.
Yeah.
Being with your buddies traveling the world, you know.
All right, easy call. I agree. So Oliver, you've been with the best coaches the game's ever seen. You were with Shane Pastana, you've seen Rusty Glaze, you've seen some of the craziest coaches in the game. In your opinion, who's the greatest coach you've ever seen in paintball? Who understood the game and was able to rally the team? Who was the Bill Belichick? Didn't matter what players, it was the fundamentals, the system that made him win.
Well, you know, that's a really good question, Bear.
Yeah.
The truth is that the coach he's like the guru, yeah? He's like the master that you want to play for.
Got it.
You know? So, for instance, like Shane Pastana is an ideal coach in that sense because you play the game, you show up on time for him, you know, not for you, not for nobody else on the team, but for the coach. And if you let him down, you know, you feel like you let yourself down.
Got it.
And so I believe that's the power of the coach, you know, and the coach is a guiding force and he's inspiring you. Now, but with that being said, a guy like Shane, he's not organized, you know, he doesn't have game plans and all these mappings and all these crazy things, but he has extreme amounts of heart and, you know, belief, you know, so essentially when you're under Shane's umbrella, you're like, yeah, okay, I can do that, you know, but then you got more technical coaches like Skinny Kevin and Rusty Glaze, you know, and these guys have really picked apart the game. They've really fine-tuned what a coach is, and they produce incredible coaching systems, you know, but sometimes they lose that power to keep you motivated.
Got it. And in your terms, you've played with tons of players. You've probably played with more players than anyone because you played so many events. You probably played over 500 events around the world in the pro division. Who do you think is the greatest back player of all time? And if you want, you could divide it into past generation and current generation. But in terms of back player, that ideal, because we see so much talk of the one, the two, and even in basketball and other pro sports, you see positions being shifted around. But in terms of the traditional back player, who is the best?
Such a good question, Bear, and I'm really glad that you asked that question because you're right. There's a lot of emphasis on these ones and the twos and the snake guys and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the real deal is the back guys. Are those guys that shoot a lane off the break and are there for you at the end of the game and can win the game for you. Now, I can't pinpoint and say the best of the best of the best because I've played at so many different times. So, like, you know, in the early 2000s, there was the best, you know, and then, of course, it shifted a little bit more into the speedball, you know, sub-airball style of play, and then there became a best within that. But I'll tell you right now, like a guy like Mikko Huhtanen, he would shoot what is called on Ironman the apple or the orange, or on Dynasty the California or the Utah. he could shoot that guy off the break. And as a front player, when that guy's dead, it's easy to play paintball. So, like Miko was, he was sensational. Mike Paxson, he gave you that uplifting protection that was behind you that was so potent. Again, you had so much faith in yourself and him there's no better feeling, And then a guy like Yosh, who's just such a steady hand, you just always know that guy's going to be there.
Got it.
So it's really hard to say who was the best. A guy like Mr. U, who had just so much heart and who would scream and yell and push and shoot his gun and just do everything he could possibly do, These are the guys who win the tournaments for you, not the Alex Goldmans, not the Kyle Spickas, not the A-Rods. It's the back guys, man. Those are the guys who really are outstanding and who don't get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah,
and I heard that Mike Paxson just got cut off the IRONMEN.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart. I'm like, these guys are legends. They've been winning tournaments their whole life, and nobody even really cares.
Yeah.
Like some people will say, "Oh, Yosh is great. It's Yosh Rao." Bro, Yosh Rao is fucking outstanding. He's not just great. He's outstanding.
Yeah. No, and I don't think people pay enough attention. But then that brings me to the point is I don't think people pay attention because I don't think anyone knows what they're looking for anymore. I think everyone's a robot. The game has changed so much that we forgot the fundamentals of our game. We forgot what lanes are. We forgot what moves are. What do you think?
Amen, dude. The game has been being lost the last couple years, and that's the direction I saw it going, and it was sad, and there was a bunch of people that were in charge of it that don't give an F about what we think, and they were going to do it their own way, and they were going to be the best, and they were going to save the sport and, make all the money, and it's just like, hey, guys, you need the players.
Got it.
The players are the reason why people are playing.
Absolutely.
You don't have players, you don't have anything.
Absolutely.
You can have the best league ever, but if no players show up, then what's the point?
No.
But you're right. The game has been changing, and it's been, there's been a big gap. And one of my goals is to teach players how to play.
I love it. I love it.
Because
we need it.
If in the next 5 years I can get my hands on 100, 200 kids that are really, really eager to play, within the next 10 years, we're going to have amazing pro teams. Right now, you want to be pro? Let's just slap a jersey on them and throw them in the NXL.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, seen
that's
it.
That's like you and I saying, hey, should we play pro golf? Can we just get in? Let's get in there.
Yeah. That's what it's been like the last couple of years because the dollar speaks more than the skill. And we're the only pro sport where a dollar buys you status. I mean, I played pro for many years as a kid. I didn't even know how to snap shoot yet until I met you, so I get it. So yeah. So one thing I think a lot of people forget is the feuds that paintball brought out, the real competitive feuds when paintball was at an all-time high. I remember the Dynasty Russian feud, and it was like the USA versus Russia. It was a crazy feud going on.
Insane, huh?
What was that like during that time where you were basically fighting for the US before Nations Cup, before World Cups, and it was like the big bad Russians, the Russians that just came over here, no one knew, they were ice cold. I mean, I played for their team at one point. They don't even talk. They say Subway. They don't say anything else. No mustard, no mayonnaise. You get it, whatever comes with it. So it's like, what was that feud like? Because you were in your excellent prime. You were just exploding on the scene. No one could contain you. You were Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious, extra nos. Didn't matter who it was. Didn't matter what you drove. You were winning. What was the feud like?
I mean, honestly, it was intense, dude. Those Russians were scary, dude. They were scary. They were like ugly. They smoked a ton of cigarettes. They had like crazy things coming out of their goggles. They were like super rich somehow, like
shout out.
They were scary, dude. Like
who were you looking at when you would go on the field?
I can't wait to watch like the characters that they pick to play the Russians. Like it was too perfect. Like some of them, one was like an Olympic ice skater, and he would like look like he was ice skating as he was playing, but then he would roll up and just smoke a cigarette in your face, and then like leave, and then go back out and like ice skate on the paintball field, and then it was just like, and then some of them were like the guys hitmen, like they really like had killed people, like we had to play paintball against them. So one guy almost lost his head on Alex and was gonna like hire someone to kill Alex in the X-ball game. This guy lost himself, and it was just interesting. Like there's a real like feud between.
It was amazing. I remember like you coming to SC Village, and I remember hearing about this, how we had to go to the event 20, 30 deep on the sidelines, and coaches were going crazy.
And they wore pajamas. Like, what the hell was that?
I think they invented the leopard print before Joy Division.
They did, dude. It was insane. I don't know. And it's still crazy. Like, I still look at the Russians that play on the Heat guys, and they're still the same guys. They're still like...
Yeah, Mishka hasn't changed his headgear in 30 years. What are we going to do about this? I don't know.
Mishka hasn't aged a day in 15 years.
Guy still has curly Q hairs. Looks like the 80s Rockefellers over there just doing disco dancing all night. Oliver.
And they're good. And they're super good, so it was really hard, and we had some intense games. I don't think they ever beat us once, though.
No, shout out, the way it should be. So going over the years, what was the greatest team you enjoyed playing against? Not just because you beat them, but because you loved playing against them.
Man, that's a super good question. There were so many teams that we loved to beat. I mean, honestly, it has to be Impact because, like, we just loved beating Impact, But they were never really that good then. So, like, the hardest was probably the Russians, It just has to be. They were just so good, And there was always an intense match. But there were so many. It's hard to say. Excessive was hard. The Russians were. Arsenal was hard. And then it depends on what team I was on, because sometimes it was hard to play against Dynasty. I like to play against Dynasty. I like to beat them.
No, absolutely.
Tampa was hard game, and there were some intense feuds.
Now, in terms of traveling all over the world, where was the best paintball you ever played?
In terms of like the league?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds weird, but Malaysia at one point was just so incredibly potent and powerful. There were so many teams, and it was like we were really we were a big industry, playing over there. So I would say Malaysia in its heyday.
Now, in terms of playing against teams overseas, did you always think that the competition was better in the U.S.?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Without a doubt?
Without a doubt. I mean, the Europeans occasionally would come together and build like a pretty good team. And, they were all rooting against us, of course. And I like that, I love it when a team can get, like, especially the European teams, because they're pretty grassroots. They come from, like Joy Division, they're Swedish guys, just playing paintball. And they came up and they built themselves an excellent team.
It's crazy. Over the years, do you think that the system that Dynasty put together at practice is what made you guys so efficient in tournaments? Or do you think that everybody practiced the same way? You guys were just always better?
No. We definitely practiced differently. Yeah.
What did you guys do differently, you think?
Well, we started to understand that there was a formula to practice before anybody realized that there was a formula to practice, And then in the last, 5 or 6 years, when I joined the IRONMEN, because I was so pushed into such a degree of, rebuilding, I had to really create the next platform after that. So that put me to the drawing board to figure out, hey, what do we got to do in practice? And you remember when we had the ranch, the way we did drills and the systems that were in place, the way we broke down the fields.
It was wild. It was revolutionary. The way you guys started breaking down the fields, gritting it out. You guys were rolling footballs on the floor, shooting them. I mean, you guys were doing things I had never seen before. You were making RoboCops out there. I kid you not, Alex Goldman would still be playing AYSO soccer, Mission Viejo, if he didn't play with you. Because the kid had no idea what he was doing. Marcelo would still be on Die Kids shooting a pump gun. And Kyle Spica would be at Nordstrom's in the kids aisle. So, I mean, you raise these guys on a whole nother level based off the practice you guys had these guys do.
Honestly, I mean, if you rewind history and you look at a lot of these guys, something happened to them within their psyche that birthed a man. Look at Alex Goldman's a perfect example. He was a little kid. We used to call him I mean, I don't know if you still call him Mouse.
No, we call him Mouse. Let that be known. That name's never going anywhere. I'll still slap him up a few times.
He's definitely not a mouse anymore. He used to really be a mouse.
He looks like he ate Dave Baines. I mean, Jesus Christ.
He does look like he ate Dave Baines. He's pretty big now. I haven't seen him for a while, but I'm sure he's only getting bigger.
Very bulky, very wide.
What I'm saying, though, and this is important for anybody that's listening, and even yourself, this happened to you. There was a moment within the time, within your career, within knowing and seeing us, seeing other more mature players, where something birthed in you, and you became this confident, you became this strong, this beautiful man, right? You're no longer a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to look at a lot of these players that are even like yourself. You know, you were one day you were this kid, and then all of a sudden the next day you were this like adult teenager that was like confident and could stand his ground and who was like secure and wasn't going to take no shit from no one.
No.
And that's what happened to Mouse. That's what happened to a lot of these good players, you know? And through the sport of paintball, literally they got transformed. Yeah. Now think about, like, look at Tyler Harmon. He's a perfect example. He was a little kid, and all of a sudden in like 2 years, he just bean shot up and he became this like Superman.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is the sport of paintball or what it is or what happened within that. I mean, it's quite magical. And let's just assume that they never played paintball. Would they have grown that growth?
No, I mean, the names you just talked about, we all come from your camp. I mean, we all played with you. We all grew up with you. I remember getting lost with you in Germany. I mean, the times we had overseas was hilarious. We did things I never thought in a million years I would do. But through the sport, like you're saying, and through playing, we became these people, you know, you, me. I mean, look at the journey you're on. We become these people that, you know, besides holding the gun and the dominance on the field and winning and invoking our power over someone by keeping them in the bunker by shooting, we become this person. We personify what we play and we grow into who we want to be. You're absolutely right. It's an amazing, it's kind of like the butterfly effect on the caterpillar, right? And we go through this, and then one day it clicks. And I remember being in Europe with you, and the whole Mr. Worldwide thing started, and people were getting loud at events, and I was ready to slap people around. And I remember you pulling me aside, and you were like, Jesus, man, you're ready to rock. Even Ryan Greenspan, I think I pushed him in a gear bag, tied it up, rolled him down a hill. I mean, I took crap from no one.
Yeah,
I agree. Oliver, off the field, on the field, what player did you hate the most? And it's okay to talk about your feelings. This is the Full Experience podcast.
I mean, Ryan Greenspan.
No, your own teammate.
Yeah, he's so fucking hard to deal with, you know?
Still to this day.
Yeah, still to this day.
Even as a friendship level or just on a paintball level?
I mean, he's a hard individual to deal with.
In terms of what, though? Break it down.
Everything, you know, he's got his mentality, he's got his way, and we were just oil and water always, you know. Sometimes it worked to the benefit, but also a lot of time it hurt. We hurt each other, we hurt our team, and that just wasn't a healthy dynamic. You know, I mean, we are friends and we do have this like brotherly connection and mutual respect for each other, but we did have a really hard time playing with each other, and he was a really big teacher to me in many aspects of my life, and I'm forever grateful for him in that. But, you know, it just the truth of the matter, it's like playing with your twin brother. You know, he was the most alike in the world that I'd ever met, who had done the same things and fulfilled the same dreams and been to the same places. And, you know, we literally lived parallel lives. So in a sense, we were like brothers and teammates, but we were also competing against each other. And we were also, you know, in that degree, like sometimes hurting each other.
Got it.
And at the end of the day, like I'm super glad that I could step back and like move on past that, and he can move on past that, and now he can be playing in a different aspect and not with me and playing out of his mind now, you know. And so I'm really happy of where we are and where we've
It's almost like he got the Dynasty Magic too. I mean, in all seriousness, I'm not even trying to push his buttons. I think living in your shadow a little bit, because he never got credit. He did always have amazing games, but it was always the Oliver show. I think that subconsciously he was like, yo, this isn't my teammate. This is a competitor. Even though you're trying to strive for the same outcome, I think that we always saw that. Even from the sidelines, me, my dad, people, we always saw the rift, because we say, damn, do they not get along, or are they just that big of competitors?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was sensitive, and honestly, like it was really hard for guys like Alex and Yosh and BC and all the kids to witness the way that we treated each other. And sometimes we got a good, something good came out of it, but a lot of the time it was hurtful. And I said a lot of probably really mean things to him, and he probably said mean things to me, and but it's I guess it was just that dynamic, and I think we can be adults now and move on and grow, even more into friendship.
As a kid, Oliver, who were your idols growing up in the paintball world that you wanted to be like? Who did you study? Who did you look at? Because we know you loved, your game. You studied the game. You're a student of the game, and then you created your own textbook. So who did you grow up looking at?
Yeah, good question. People probably don't remember him, but his name was Richie Malachewski. Definitely, without a doubt, he had this fluidity and this gracefulness to his game. Kind of sloppy, kind of nerdy, which isn't my style. But his ability to like be really in the moment and create something was explosive and just poetic. Yeah.
Got it.
And then of course Lasoya, he wasn't my style in the sense of he was pretty much a bad boy. And I mean, I'm not saying that I was a good boy, but he was, kind of the punk rock guy. But I admired the way that he held himself, the way that he carried himself, the way he fought for himself. He was a badass, and
Got it.
you can learn a lot from these types of people.
Got it.
But in terms of like like a guy like Rich Telford, I learned a lot from. Very poised individual, very solid. Grounded,
Yep.
confident,
Yep.
mature.
Yep.
Honest. Like he's a supreme teacher.
Great guy.
All of them though, all these guys, Davey, Maddie, Micah, they all rubbed off on me to a certain degree at a certain time.
So you think you took elements of multiple styles, multiple games, and kind of just made your own Oliver style of school? It's like your own martial art in a way. It's like you created your own Valley Judo, karate, taekwondo, and then you took bits and pieces and you said, yo, this is me. Take it or leave it.
Well, that's what we got to be doing in life. We got to be sampling everything, and we got to be exploring everything, trying the best, and then creating your own recipe, right? That's when you become,
Love it.
A supreme artist or a chef or whatever you want to call it. And that's when you stand out. But I'll tell you right now, the only way I was able, and the reason I was able to do that again, is because I had extreme support from dear brothers that were on my team at that point, whether it be the IRONMEN of old, whether it be the Dynasty of old, whether it be the IRONMEN in the middle, or the last Dynasty,
Yeah, no, I love it. One more question. Everyone knows the rules. You're at the top of your game. You're the Michael Jordan. You're the best the game's ever seen. You're the best we will ever see. You were at the height of your game for longer than anyone. It's like boxers defending their title, and you hear about this guy went 20 defenses deep, and he's still 40-0. You're the Mayweather. You did it all, and then you leave to go chase frogs or whatever it is you're doing, finding your soul. What is that? What mind shift happened? What do you wake up one day and you say, I'm not loving what I do anymore? Do you wake up one day and say, in all honesty, I'm not even joking. Do you wake up and just say, yo, I'm done? Or I'm not in love with the game? Or I need to find myself. I'm not happy. What happens? Because no one will ever be able to even come close to what you did for this game, what you did for it and what you personally did, So what happens? How'd that happen?
Yeah, this is a very intricate question, Bear, and I'm going to do my best to explain it to you without getting too lost.
No, give it to us, raw, rugged, and real.
The reality of it is that the reality isn't what you think it is, and only until you're able to step away and see your reality from a different perspective is then when you can start to gauge what reality truly is. And when you are able to move into new realms within your being, within yourself, which is what we're supposed to be doing on this earth. Like a perfect example is when I was an amateur skateboarder, sponsored. I probably could have gone pro. And then at 14, for some reason, I gravitated to paintball. And then I played paintball from 14 to, 34 or whatever it was, right? So we're here to evolve. We're here to we're on a school. We're on this life thing is a school, and we're supposed to be learning, experimenting, exploring, and failing. and essentially with every failure, we create a better version of ourselves. So the paintball aspect of myself, and if I could only, and maybe I'll write a book on this one day because I'm just scraping the surface of it, but if every athlete or every superstar, any musician, whatever it may be, the greatest of the greatest that they are, if they received what I received from my teaching and understanding of what the sport gave me, then it's absolute success, right?
Yeah.
So now at this point, I need to be smart about my life and realizing what is the next step, what is the next stage. Now I've graduated, let's go to the next level of existence, okay? And so what is that? Is my life built around only winning paintball tournaments? No, it's not, And if anybody wins enough paintball tournaments, they'll probably one day understand that there's more to life than winning paintball tournaments. In fact, one day Impact will retire and realize, well, hey, we won enough paintball tournaments. Hopefully the Dynasty guys will one day realize that, and they'll walk away with it with style, grace, and elegance, and use what they've gathered in that time and to apply it into life, into the future, for the betterment of themselves, humanity, for Mother Earth, for all the greatest things that are out there. So right now I'm in incubation, I feel like a brand new child. I'm new, I'm free as hell, I'm open, I'm flexible, I'm fluid, I'm agile, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm content, which is a beautiful thing to be content in your life. If you reach contentment in your life, you're on the right path. And I'm searching and I'm seeking for the next highest possibility that I'm here to achieve within this earth. So if I start something now at the age of 35, in the next 30 years, whatever it may be that's coming is going to be fantastic. And I'm not going to sit here and dwell on the past.
I get it.
And I'm not going to
love it.
I'm just going to be right now in the moment, knowing that I accomplished what I needed to accomplish in that phase of my life to fuel me and to give me what it is into the next phase. And
you hit such a interesting topic, I think, is the definition of success. And I think you defined it as the master of your craft, not by the winnings, not by the losses, but you've mastered it in such a way you were able to give that gift to so many players that now you said, yo, the next step is here now. I'm done with this chapter, new chapter time. But it's so amazing that you were able to do that.
Sorry. Just to cut you off really quick. There's a right way to do everything. When I quit Dynasty to go play for the IRONMEN, I didn't just call Alex on the phone and say, hey, I'm quitting. You were there. I was at SC Village.
Hollywood Sports.
Hollywood Sports. We had to practice the IRONMEN that day.
Yep.
I left Dynasty. I brought them all I brought them all around the truck. I looked them all in the face and I said, guys, I'm going to the IRONMEN and I'm going to be playing against you guys today. And they were flipped out at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, well, isn't that an adult way of doing it? To look at you guys all in the eyes, not just send you a text message and say, I'm not showing up to practice tomorrow. I looked you all in the face. So how can I bow out gracefully from something that's been such a big part and aspect of my life, And in fact, I'm still debriefing from it. I still have paintball dreams every night. I still think about a lot of people in my life that have been such a big part of my life. So I believe that I was at the right place at the right time to move away from it, to make space on the team of Dynasty, to give new players a possibility to rise up and become leaders of the team. Instead of just taking up a spot, I know what it takes to win a tournament. It takes a lot. And personally, I'm not willing to give that anymore, what it takes. Day in and day out, laborious thought, understanding of the teams, studying other players, working on my mechanics, drilling on a regular basis, getting in an airplane and traveling around the world to compete, to stay fresh, to stay on top. In fact, it was just way too much. And in fact, I was so satisfied with it that this was the perfect time for me to say, okay, walk away with it gracefully and peacefulully and perfectly, instead of getting pushed out and riding the bench for 2 years or not playing good or not showing up, and for my teammates. That's not what I'm about. When I do something, I do it really fucking well, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I do a lot of heart, and it means a lot to me. A lot of people message me now, hey, come play with our team, and I'm like, buddy, I don't think you understand like how much energy I apply myself to do something when I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I
It
half-ass
shows.
do anything.
It shows. I mean, it's something that with you, I think it's the one guy you don't need to say it. Like, it shows you were the most dominant player for 10 years plus. You rode through multiple generations of players. You stomped on everyone, their coaches, their budgets, their pit crews single-handedly. I mean, you always had a supporting role, but you've been the only successful player that could say, hey, listen, I'm leaving. I'm going to this team. Now this team's going to win. You can't deny that fact. No one's ever had that. Because the cluster, the migration of the Penguins, like, yo, the Russians are going from this iceberg to that iceberg. It takes 4 of them to compete with you, and they still didn't do it as gracefully, as unique, or as viciously. You would come in and destroy a whole team that you guys would play against. It's been amazing. Oliver, now at this point in your life, what's the next step now? What are you doing now? Like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Or are you taking this day by day? It seems like you're happier than you've ever been. It seems like, I've been talking to you off and on Messenger, trying to get a hold of you. You've been busy. I mean, what are you doing now?
I'm studying, man. I'm on a path of it's gonna sound crazy, but I'm on a path to self-mastery. I got to figure myself out. I got this incredible human body, this vehicle, this vessel that is like profound. I don't even know how to use it that well. I never went to school, so now it's the time to really figure out my mental aptitude, to test myself, and to become stronger than ever. And with that, I don't know what will happen.
Are you going to stay in Bali, or are you moving back to the U.S.?
No, I'm done with the U.S. The U.S. is too many rules, too much requirements, too much, this and that and the other. I live in a peaceful place, and I've rented a place for 10 years, and so I don't have to pay rent for 10 years, and I just get to live here in a little rice paddy. And, it's just sweet deal. I got a lot of people here that are incredibly intellectual and inspiring people. The Balinese are some of the most beautiful individuals you've ever met, with the purest hearts, that are so sweet, that just smile at you when you ride your scooter around. They're so helpful and friendly. I can leave my computer out. No one's going to steal it. So it's like, I don't know. It's a new world. It's a new life. It's a new chapter. It's exciting.
What about the connection? The connection to Dynasty, connection to paintball, connection to your friends. How's that going?
Well, the plan is I've just constructed an online course, which is a free online course, which I've worked pretty hard at to do. And I learned a lot from it because this is my gift. I'm going to give it to the paintball industry. To tell the truth, the paintball industry hasn't even accepted it well. People have signed up for a free course. I don't know. Maybe I should have charged $5,000 for it. Maybe more people would have joined in. I don't know. The industry is really strange. I think there's a lot of people that want to learn. I think there's a lot of people that I can help and I can inspire.
Yep.
Ultimately, what I've really come to the realization about is that, I'm not put on this earth to be the best paintball player. I'm put on this earth to be the best human being I can possibly be. So I can teach you how to play paintball, but in reality, I want you to learn what I can teach you to apply to the game of paintball, and to take it out into the streets of life, and to understand how to be a solid individual.
No, I know you've done things.
Ideal for yourself.
You've done things that I think people take for granted, and I think the imagery that you portrayed on and off the field over the past 10 years, I think it came so quick, and the industry shifts with so many players in and out. I think people took for granted, the majesticness of it. It truly was something crazy, for one player to be this dominant, understand the game this well, constantly evolving, constantly getting better, working with new players, keeping those players better. I mean, it's more than a coach. It's like you said, So it's been amazing. Oliver, I appreciate you being on the...
You're right. The majestic is a beautiful word to use, because there was a time where everything was very majestic within that industry and that sport, and quite beautiful.
Oliver, I appreciate you so much being on the BearDegidio Full Experience podcast.